Huguette Allen, the Green Party. Huguette was raised in Montreal, but moved to the Gaspé region to raise her children. She worked 10 years for Nortel, started out as a computer programmer and went up to an analyst and a department manager. Worked 7 years at the John Abbott College in a continuing education program manager. And for over 15 years has operated Imaginaire Consulting, helping with design business plans and train business owners. Huguette moved to Lumbee in 2002. She was involved in developing the Salmon Trails proposal, co-founder of the Sugar Lake and Middle Shuswap Stewards and Friends for Responsible Ecological Sustainable Timber. For those of you who remember, Huguette also ran with the Greens in last fall's 2008 federal election. So the first question to the candidates, if elected, what would be your government's top 3 economic priorities?
Thank you. Well, our first priority would be to move out of the recession into a new, prosperous, green economy. Easily said, not so easily done, but I'll explain how we would go about this. Our second priority would be to avoid structural or long-term deficits. So instead of propping up failing industries, we would engage into targeted investments into education, into healthcare, into renewable energy. As well, we would also create long-term green-collar jobs, and there are many of those. And we would prioritize small local businesses. Our number 3 is to promote savings and to also job growth within BC. And this is where the small local businesses come in. We have many plans and many ways to do this, including a green business program. I see the yellow light, so I'm reading fast. To support entrepreneurs and small business, by BC promotion, sound up-to-date information on economic opportunities and resources, and lowering income and payroll taxes. Thank you.
What would be some of your environmental policies that your government would implement?
One of the things that makes the Green Party different is that all of our policies are designed to work together so that what's good for the environment should also be good for the economy. So what we would do is, first of all, we would focus on conservation of our resources by making sure that there is value added, particularly in forestry and in local food. We would also reduce toxic pollutants in our air and in our water. So rather than spend a lot of money to clean it up, we would make sure that we focus on prevention. We would also protect wilderness. Currently, BC does not have a legislation for protection of threatened species. And we would use conservation and tax shifting to ensure that we address climate change in the urgent manner that it deserves to be addressed. We cannot wait to reduce by 33% in 2020. We need to reduce by 50% within the next 4 years. And that means conservation right now and shifting to renewable, which we now have the opportunity to do. So that's what we would do.
Thank you. The third question is, what is your position on increasing the minimum wage and its impact on small business?
You know, minimum wage is like a false bottom when the economy is really bad. And at that time, we all know that a good employee is worth more than the minimum wage, but small businesses usually can't afford to pay more when the economy is very bad. So we propose something which we figure is much better than that, and it's called a guaranteed livable income, which would top off whatever is missing between what the employee is making during times of bad economy. And this would actually save us money, and it would allow small businesses to thrive. At the moment, it is costing all of us taxpayers $55,000 for each person who is living below the poverty line in social costs. You know, just downtown East Side, we're spending $1 million a day there. So it would be far cheaper for government to get rid of the shame-based programs and paying EI, because small businesses would have to lay off people, but instead let the people work, let the businesses pay what they can afford to pay. When the economy is better, they will pay more, otherwise people will move away. So I think that's a far better program. Thank you.
So I have question number 4. What policy do you have to curb crime from spreading to the Okanagan from the Lower Mainland and to coordinate police forces to battle organized crime?
Again, the Greens would attack the root of the problem instead of the symptoms. The only time that we've seen the kind of shooting in the streets that we're seeing now was during Prohibition in the 20s and 30s. So what we would do is we would do like Portugal and other countries, and we would take the drugs out of the hands of the criminals. And we would make sure that what happens instead is that it is treated, that drug addiction is treated as a health and social issue, not as a criminal issue. If drug addicts had to go to clinics in order to get their drugs, we could then help them, we could then reach them, we could then offer programs that would make it better, rather than to perpetuate the crime that is happening now. I said that it's costing $1 million for each person who was in the, it's costing us $1 million for each day in the downtown east side. And there is no reason to continue with this because we know that all it's going to do is perpetuate the criminal element. If more police was the answer, the US would be the safest country in the world. It isn't.
Question number 5, with the current economic downturn and falling tax revenues, how would your government protect healthcare and education funding in the province?
For healthcare, again, I think we need to attack the root of the problem because right now we are spending 90% of every new dollar the government spends on healthcare. It makes no sense. We need to focus on prevention of healthcare. We need to ensure also that when people do need treatment, they get it on time. They don't wait because when they wait, they get worse. We also need to include alternative care in our healthcare because these are usually non-invasive techniques that cost us a lot less and they save us a lot in operations. However, with education, it's different. Every dollar spent on education saves us $7 in the future in remedial services. And education has been badly cut. So for education, we would definitely increase the funding and we would make sure that we do it early enough so that children can enter school ready to do well in school as opposed to keeping everyone behind. And for education, we would make sure that we have community schools so that everything that the schools use, theaters, facilities, sports facilities, are also available to communities.
Wow, we're making great time, so I have a pop question. Unfortunately, Ian's going to be the first one to answer. Why is it important that you be chosen our MLA? What are the skills and abilities that you bring to this job which would help representing our interests in government?
The reason that I think it's important that you elect me is very, very simple. I'm not making a career move. I am 61. I'm doing this because I'm a grandmother and I want a good future for my grandchildren. I cannot imagine of a better reason to believe somebody would do a good job. Now, I can't do that good job because I've made a living at getting people with different visions to agree on a common vision. That's what I did as manager at Northern Telecom, and I was very successful, and I've been very successful in my career doing that at other times. Also, the way that I would work is I know my party will not make the legislature, but I believe some of us will be elected, and I would be prepared to work with whomever is there to advance the issues. I do not believe in constant adversity and blaming others. We need to go forward.
Thanks everybody. I'm going to give a 1-minute wrap up for all the candidates, and I'll start here over with Huguette.
Well, I guess before I really wrap up talking about me, I'd like to thank you for your thoughtful questions today, because every time we go to debates, I think we learn based on what we're asked, and yours were very thoughtful. To wrap up, I'd like to say that, as I said before, my party will not make the legislature, but I believe that one voice, even if it is only one voice, that brings solutions that are workable, because every solution that we propose exists somewhere in the world. They are not just airy-fairy solutions, they are implemented. For example, when we talk of green buildings, you know, in Austria, they are not allowed to build new buildings unless they're off the grid. Here we are in the Okanagan with all the sun, and we're still building on the grid. So I believe that I would bring forward solutions that are workable. I would listen to people. I have proven that I do that. I certainly have done it when I ran federally. And also, all of our policies are based to our design in order to support each other, so that when we say something is good for the environment, it also is good for the economy, so that we don't have to destroy the environment and then spend lots of money in order to rebuild it. Thank you.